Good morning, traders. Welcome to the Bookmap Platform Details webinar. This is Bruce at Bookmap. Risk disclaimer: trading futures, equities, and digital currencies involves substantial risk of loss and is not suitable for all investors. Past performance is not necessarily indicative of future results. Okay, so the goal of the webinar here is to introduce you to Bookmap, so you guys understand what you're looking at and how to use it. We'll define it. We'll talk about the different traders using it and how to connect it to the various markets and how to subscribe to it. And then we're going to look at the live market and start to define the elements on the chart and go over basic order flow. Okay, so there's an education package that comes with the subscription. So when you subscribe to Bookmap, you get access to our 4-part educational course and then the advanced order flow webinars. Those start at 11 a.m. Eastern. Okay, so a half hour from now. And that's really where the goal of that webinar is to really dig into the details and look at as many examples of order flow as we can on high time frames, on low time frames, really just understand it and look for advantages that Bookmap can visualize for us. So we read it and then very objectively start to anticipate where price might go based on what we see. Okay, so no matter what kind of trader you are, if you're looking at volume profile, if you're looking at candlestick patterns, if you're looking at Fibonacci levels or pivot points or something like that, doesn't matter. You still want to understand what's going on in the order flow, in the order book. So that's what Bookmap does, and we can dive right in and let's start to go through some of this. All right. So here's our website here, and we'll define what Bookmap is. We're a trading platform. Okay, we're software. We're not an indicator. In fact, indicators are a lot more complex in a lot of senses because you have to understand exactly what it is. It's a calculation and it's a derivative. Bookmap is not showing any of that. I mean, we do have add-on indicators, but what we're showing is price. We're showing where transactions took place on that price, and we're showing where they're bidding and offering. So very, very simple, very objective data. Okay, and we'll get into the details here in just a bit. All right, who uses Bookmap? All right, day traders, scalpers, swing traders, and quants. Now, because we visualize the order flow data and we project it onto the chart historically, you can not only use it for kind of sub-second levels and current, several minutes, you can also use it on much, much higher time frames. You can zoom out and see and understand what's going on in the order flow for swing traders, even position traders. All right, let's continue on. Connectivity. All right, so we need to go over how you connect Bookmap to the various markets. Right, so we connect to futures, US equities, and digital currencies. The digital currency data is free, so your Bitcoin, etc., Ethereum, or whatever it might be. The data is free for that. You won't need to pay for that or bring it in. You would just connect with GDAX, BitMEX, Bitfinex, OKCoin, and probably others to come as well. Anyway, that's for digital currencies. Then for US equities and futures, you will need to provide the data. Okay, we're software, we're not a data provider, we're not a broker. Okay, so for connecting for US equities, you will need to subscribe to Bookmap first, and then you will need to subscribe to DXFeed. Okay, that's how you connect Bookmap to the US equities markets. And for futures, you have a variety of choices here. Okay, Rhythmic, CQG, Gain Capital, Transact, IQ Feed, Nanotick, and Cedro. Now, if you prefer, you can also connect via the API of 3 different trading platforms: TT, XTrader Pro, NinjaTrader 7 and 8, and Interactive Brokers Traders Workstation. Okay, we recommend to bypass that though, get clean data directly from the data provider instead of going through the API of another platform. All right, and let's go over some of the pricing here. And then we'll go through a few more Bookmap resources and then dive into the markets. All right, so you can subscribe monthly by clicking here. Okay, yearly by clicking here, and you can see you get a 20% discount, and then lifetime. Okay, so we've just for about I don't know, maybe a month or so, we've offered now Global and Global Plus for lifetime, and a lot of people have been really interested in that, which has been great. All right, so let's go back to the monthly option here. Okay, you can see that there's some different versions, and the digital version here is free. It offers you only one digital currency at a time, so like Bitcoin, for example. And the data is free, and the markets are always open. So the free version is pretty nice. You can always look at a live market using Bookmap. Now, if you want to trade more digital currencies, then one at a time, or you're a futures trader or a US equities trader, you will need the global version. Okay, and then note that you will need to provide the data for both of those. Okay, and it's $49 a month. So if you're a futures trader, you want to try Bookmap, I would recommend trying it for a month here. You can cancel at any time, but you at least give it a good solid month. See if this is something that really helps you out. Okay, and then you can also access our education as well. So that's the global version. The Global Plus version, the difference here is our access to add-on indicators. Okay, we have a whole slew of them. For example, large lot tracker, iceberg detector, imbalance indicators, correlation tracker, trading from the Bookmap chart, and I think a few others as well. Now, these are very specific and proprietary indicators we've developed that look at very specific order flow phenomena. Okay, so it's not your typical RSI or MACD or Bollinger Bands. That's not what we do. We're looking at very specific stuff like large lot tracker, who's holding the majority of the liquidity in the order book, or iceberg detector, starting to understand where icebergs are. Okay, our algo can detect that, etc. All right, so that's what you get with the Global Plus version. All right, so let's go through a few more resources here, and then we'll jump into live market. If you're new or you want some more information here, I would recommend going to our blog. There's all sorts of stuff here you might want to check out, and interviews with traders, etc. So all sorts of great stuff. Then our Twitter page. Okay, I haven't tweeted something recently here, but anyway, the usually have 2 or 3 a day. Great stuff here as well. Here's our new forum, for example. You might want to check out our forum, and we're developing all sorts of new indicators, for example, which is fantastic with our new API. Okay, so you can ask me questions about that if you like. It's an open architecture. You can develop your own strategies and indicators. All right, and let's go through our YouTube page. Okay, and here you can get access to our Pro Trader webinars that we had just a couple weeks ago, professional traders using Bookmap, how they use Bookmap, some intro videos here, order flow education videos here. I think you'll find these very helpful. This is what Bookmap visualizes. Okay, so understand the concepts here, understand what Bookmap is showing you. This is what we go through in the advanced order flow webinars every day in detail. Okay, we also have features and components, all sorts of different features that you can learn about, and then some selected webinars here as well. All right, so let's jump into the live markets and see what's going on. Okay, so here we're looking at Bookmap, and there we go. Okay. And let's define these elements here. If you're new here, you're looking at this, we're seeing some really good stuff here, some really great examples of absorption here. Okay, well, anyway, I'll describe this here. And this is order flow on a pretty high time frame, and just seeing it really, really nicely here. Anyway, let's define these elements so you guys know what I'm talking about here. And to do that, let me first take off some of our add-on indicators here. You get this with the global version, not the Global Plus. You get the cumulative volume delta subchart here. a point of control indicator as well. I'm going to turn that off. Here, hold on just a minute. Boy, I don't know why I'm getting a kind of delay here. Okay, and then this white line here is a VWAP, a historical VWAP, both current and historical. Okay, and let's take that off the chart as well. And our iceberg detector, we're also going to take that off the chart. All right, so 3 elements on this Bookmap chart. Very simple and very straightforward, as I mentioned earlier. I know it looks complex, but it's not. It's really pretty simple here. The first element, in fact, let's just turn on a candlestick chart and take off these 3 elements and add them on one at a time. All right, now this is a view we're pretty accustomed to looking at. 5-minute candlestick chart. Every 5 minutes, a new candle is painted and it gives us open, high, low, and close. Okay, so every 5 minutes, we're only getting 4 data points here. And that's really a pity because we're closed off to all sorts of other information that gives us tons of insight to what's going on. Okay, we just don't see it. All right, and the reason being is because this is aggregated data within a period, and that's a problem. We've been looking at aggregated data, most of us on charts, we've been looking at aggregated data almost all of our trading career. Okay, and it's some sort of period. It could be a range bar. It could be point and figure. It could be volume bars. It really doesn't matter. They're still bars. It's still a period. Obviously we offer the candlestick chart on here, but we can break it down very, very easily and simply by looking at simply the best bid and offer. And that is the first element on the Bookmap chart. Okay, so this is this vertical white line here separates the historical view to the left and the current view to the right. Okay, this is our current best bid and offer here. All right, and then you see it over time here. The best offer is the red line, the best bid is the green line. What this allows you to do is start to see truly the price action, okay, what occurred. There's all sorts of structures in here that we want to understand what's going on within these 5-minute periods. We're not getting access to it because it's all aggregated within that 5 minutes. So even your footprint charts are going to be aggregating your data, and you won't be able to see the complete order flow. Okay, it basically kind of lies to you. So let's start to go over this advantage here. You can start to see these areas of consolidation and then price breakdowns or breakouts, etc., and start to see some of the patterns and then why they exist. Right? You know, like for example, we're you know, trading to the downside here. If we zoom out a little bit, you see this trend to the downside, and then it kind of goes back and forth up, you know, in this area here, and then it breaks down again. Okay, there's structures within structures, and we want to understand those areas. So for example, here you can see the 930 open, and look at this big structure here. Okay, well, we break down below that area. In fact, we break down and get what? We get a retest back up to where we broke from here, right here. Okay? And then it broke down again, and there's little structures in here as well, a little consolidation and a breakdown again. Okay, and down into this area. And now we broke out of that little structural area and we start to trend to the upside. Okay, why? Why is this going back up to test the 930 open here, or I'm sorry, the cash high? Okay, why is it coming back up here? Okay, well, we can see the structure broken, but we still don't have an answer of why. Okay, so let's clean off our drawings here, and let's add the next element on to the Bookmap chart, and that's the volume. Okay, the volume dots here. Okay, so now we're looking at how the volume actually transacted on that best bid and offer. Okay, and pretty typical here to see and understand that you know, we see more sell volume at lower lows. Okay, let me just bring down the size a little bit here. Okay, and then we You know, it's looking kind of equal in some of these areas here. We're starting to go sideways and starting to look kind of equal. But again, nice big cluster here of some sell activity. Still getting more selling into these areas here. We continue to make lower lows. Okay, but look at the change here. See this? See the shift in the volume? Look at the buy volume, and look where it's transacting. Okay, it is transacting above the structure here. Okay. Okay, see how it's broken that structure, and it's starting to transact here quite a bit above that area. Okay, so now we're starting to understand volume and structure together just by these two simple Bookmap elements. Okay, let's zoom in here, and I just want to go through you know, how simple and straightforward these are. Okay, so let's bring up the dot size here. So you guys understand exactly, because a lot of us are very accustomed to looking at volume, so let's just go through it here. The best offer is this red line. The best bid is that green line. Okay, that was that first element in the Bookmap chart. Now the second element are the transactions. A green dot is a market buy order. Okay, someone crossed the spread. They took liquidity off of the best offer. Okay, they're lifting the offer. That's the term. Right? And they're hitting the bid when they're selling. They're hitting into the bid and taking liquidity off of the best bid. And a red dot paints. Okay, now, as I mentioned earlier, we came from that quant environment. We are very precisely recording all of this data. Okay, you can use the data tip tool, and you can hover over these dots, and you can see precisely what traded here. This volume dot here, we get the date, the time, what was on the ask here in terms of liquidity, and then the volume of 96. Now, that's one big dot. Let's zoom in, okay? And let's really see what happened here. Okay, you can see it's broken into many different transactions. Okay? And we get a little bit of latency here between best bid and offer and trade data. They come in via different protocol. But this is really what occurred and unfolded. And we're down at microsecond level here, really looking at the details of what occurred. Okay? Now, we don't trade at those levels, but it's all here. Okay? We're recording every single market event. So we zoom back out, we've aggregated this visually for you in a bigger dot so you understand what happened, okay, at that area. All right, so that's all we're showing here. Volume transacting on that best bid and offer. The insight, though, comes with the context of understanding that with the structure. That's where footprint fails, because the footprint is going to show you a bar, and it's going to show you the precise volume that traded there, but you're not going to get an understanding of like the strength. Look at the speed of this move, and look at the strength of the volume at higher highs. Look at these areas on these higher lows. We really don't see much in terms of sell volume. And in fact, it's pretty typical that you see exhaustion in those areas. Okay, it just no one's interested in transacting. They're interested in transacting up into higher areas. All right, so now we've covered these two elements here, and we're understanding, which is good. We're understanding that you know, the buyers started to take control here. Okay, but let's go back now, and we're going to add the third element on, and this is where this whole picture is going to come together. Okay, we're going to understand why this reversal took place here to test back up into the highs here. Okay, and that's with the liquidity. Okay, there's context between the volume and the liquidity, and we really want to understand it. So let's put on the heat map here. Okay, and here we go. And let's take our candlestick off here. It's just kind of getting in the way. All right, so as I started this session, I wanted to define these areas down here and what's going on. Okay, and before, we still need to go through one more step before we get into this area here. What is the heat map? What is it showing us? Okay, so let me go back to the current market, and I'll define it. And then we'll zoom out, and then we'll look at that area here that gives us a lot of insight. Okay, so now looking at the order book, you know, here we go on the move to the upside, breaking the cash high on some good volume too. So let's see if we can continue on up maybe into 66 and 65 here, next levels of liquidity. Okay, so this vertical white line here, we know that this is the current market to the right and historical to the left. Okay, here's our price ladder. And then what's in this COB column, which stands for current order book? This is liquidity. Okay, these are contracts here. These are limit orders. Sellers above current price at these specific levels and buyers down below. Right, so You can see the numbers are always changing. For those of you, familiar with the DOM, you understand that liquidity is always being added and pulled. Okay, but what we do in Bookmap is we take the areas of high liquidity and we paint them in a heat map in this window here. Okay, and areas of high liquidity, you can see this kind of red color up here, 500, almost 560 contracts up here. Okay, it's red. The scale of the heat map is up here, red, orange, very high liquidity, then yellow, then white, then blue. All right, so blue is less liquidity. So very easily, since we have a graphical representation now of the liquidity, okay, the numbers change, the liquidity heat map changes. Okay, it's recorded though, and it's placed on the chart. So now we can see the high liquidity, and we can see the relationship between structure and the transactions. Right. So not only for can you use the liquidity heat map here for this kind of current market or recent historical market, you can zoom out. Now we can start to use it on much higher time frames. Okay, that wasn't possible before. Okay, we have a lot of insight what occurred down in this area here. Okay, we trade into high liquidity here, and we even can note this high liquidity has been in the book, okay, for quite a while. Okay, since I opened my Bookmap, they were still in here. They may have been in overnight, the entire night, waiting to trade at this level here, around 2650, the figure. Okay, a little bit lower here at 2646, a little bit lower here at 2640, and then one more level that came in a little bit later down here around this 35 area. Okay, now a lot of traders will look at the order book and the DOM and say, well, I don't really like it. It's all fake liquidity anyway, and it's not true. We're going to make a real nice distinction here into these areas. This was longer term liquidity, larger players most likely. They stay in the book, and here's the transaction. Here's the context between the transactions and that high liquidity. 776 trade right into it, and all of it transacted here. Okay, and then some, but there's still more sellers. Okay? It doesn't mean it's going to bounce off of that and go up because these guys are long. There's still more sellers. That's the market condition. So it goes lower. It trades again into high liquidity here. Okay, and they're starting to though absorb some of that selling pressure. Okay, they're taking away some of it, right? There's still more pressure, so it continues to go lower. All right, get a little bit of a bounce there. Okay, and then let's zoom out a little bit more here. But we find again, you can see the buyers step in here, okay, but not sustained. It doesn't really, they don't take it any further. Instead, the sellers come right back in. And now this is an interesting little area here. Okay, this is fake liquidity, or it's just, I should say it's liquidity that doesn't have the intent to trade. Why? Well, here it is in the book, and they pull. As price starts to come down to it, okay, so they don't really want to trade here. They don't want to be buyers here. They want to be buyers maybe down here, and then they actually don't want to be buyers either. But down here, we see over 1,000 contracts at 2640. Let's see how that unfolds. Okay, we get a little bit of a skew here in the book, and a nice little skew here. Okay, you can see how the order book, see how these guys jump in here with very high liquidity in these areas here, these little pockets. And what do we find? We find buyers. Okay, they're starting to push this higher. Okay, it's understanding again supply here, or in this case, it's demand. Okay, and we're seeing that we found some buyers. Okay, so price has been going up. Okay, now that's for that little time frame. Okay, in the end, there's still selling pressure. Here's our 2640 area, right into it. Okay, trades right into it, and boy, I'm getting some delays here. Just a second here, it will refresh, and here's our answer. Okay, this is what it looks like when these transactions take place into high liquidity. Here's our volume column here. Over 1,000 contracts transact. Right. Okay, now we've seen all the way down here larger players in this little area. I think we saw them pull. or maybe it was this area here. I can't recall as I'm zoomed out now, but like we note that the larger players were getting filled in a lot of these areas. Okay, so they're taking away a lot of that selling pressure because they're staying in the book and transacting. Okay, we get to a certain point down here and we don't find any more sellers. Okay, and we start to rotate back up into these areas here, and we rotate in and we start to find buyers, okay, aggressive buyers, lifting the offer. Okay, you can see them starting to come in. You can see the clusters here. Okay, now look at them bid up here in these areas as well. Okay, this is bullish. Okay, they're bidding at higher areas. We're starting to see more volume, aggressive volume at higher highs. Okay, and they're still bidding up here. Now we're trading into them way up here on the offer, and they're transacting. Okay, and we just have a lot more buying pressure though. It continues on up. All right, so these kinds of areas and starting to understand them and understand the context, not just for sub-second levels or scalping for a few minutes or a few ticks or several points maybe, but we can even use this on much higher time frames. Some really nice stuff here, okay? And it leads to understanding these kinds of moves. Okay, you didn't even get really much of a retest here. It absorbed, all these levels here, and then usually you get some sort of maybe head and shoulders here, right? You can see that the shoulder would be kind of up here, right? But now you're starting to understand that there's actually a lot of buying pressure. Starting to understand this area here in terms of order flow and pattern and structure. Okay, they're bidding up. That's fantastic. That's bullish. There's more buying up here. That's very bullish. Okay, so we're not going to get a deep pullback, right? So there's not going to be a head and shoulders here. Okay, it's all due to understanding the order flow here, right? And continuation here to the upside, and taking a bit of a pause at the moment here, back up into this 2668 level here. Anyway, starting to understand truly what's going on in these markets on the high time frame, on the low time frame, and this context between supply and demand and the aggressor. Okay, the order book and the volume. All right. But anyway, if you guys are subscribers, we'll see you over in the next webinar. It starts in just a minute. Else, we'll catch up with you tomorrow. Please note this is a short week due to the US holiday, so Thursday and Friday there are no webinars. Okay, so make sure you get your questions in before then. Anyway, we'll see you later. Okay, bye-bye.